So, very good afternoon to everybody, and a very warm welcome to our Business Spotlight interviews. My name's Ron Maycock. I'm the owner of Action Coach Castleford and Business Performance UK, and I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon by Barnaby Patchett. Very good afternoon, Barnaby.
Oh, hey, Ron. Yeah.
Great to have you with us. Now, Barnaby is the managing director of 199, and we'll be hearing a lot more from him in just a few moments. Before we do that, I really wanted to explain what the purpose of these interviews actually is. We're surrounded by some amazing businesses in our region. Each have their own stories, and these interviews help us share their journeys, showcase their achievements, and ultimately maximize their exposure, all in the name of abundance. And it's for the benefit of businesses, not just in the Yorkshire region, but across the UK and increasingly internationally as well. We are dealing with quite a few companies that cross borders as well. So without further ado, Barnaby, tell me a little bit more about 199.
Yeah, 199, we're a marketing agency in Leeds. We're in the Lehman building in the centre of town. And we work in two specific industries. So first, we work in entertainment and music. So it's working with kind of big record labels, major recording artists, DJs, things like that, providing primarily social media and digital marketing support with a bit of creative as well. And then the other side of the business is a bit different. It's B2B. PR content with a broad focus on sustainability and food, but there's kind of quite a lot of crossover there.
Okay, excellent. And in terms of your own journeys and getting to where you are now, how long you've been going, and what was your background to get into this?
Yeah, so we started in 2019. And my background, I used to work at an agency. My background's PR. So after leaving uni, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Not sure if I know what I want to do now, but we started at an agency over in East Yorkshire and worked there for 4 years. Then I decided I wanted to go out on my own. I freelanced and was a PR consultant for about 7 years, and then me and my wife had our daughter, and I realized I couldn't work from home anymore. and someone who a close friend from university, he every Christmas, he also worked at a different marketing agency, he used to talk about how he was going to quit his job and set up on his own, and he was done. And then one year I said, well, go on then, and we'll set up on our own. And a few months later, we'd started 199. Fantastic. So yeah, that's the kind of the backstory.
Excellent. So I think a lot of people listening to this will be very interested in terms of how you've managed to forge out connections and a niche, I guess, within the music industry, within the entertainment industry, and you know, when you mentioned in record labels and things like that, some pretty high profile names out there. So what's the sort of route into that market been like?
Yeah, so that's primarily from my business partner, James, who used to work for a marketing agency that was also focused in the music industry. So he had a lot of those initial connections. So when we set up on our own, he was leveraging his networks and getting in that way. And really, it's like any other industry. Once you're in there, you know, people move around, you get referred through, you do a good job, then you're going to get referred to bigger and bigger clients. And he'd already worked with some fairly major names. And we were able to pick up some pretty big names early on, considering it was at the time just the two of us. So today we work with Annie Mac, the former Radio 1 DJ. We work with Riz Ahmed, the Oscar-winning actor. We work with the guys from Blur, Damon Albarn and Graham Coxon, but not on the Blur stuff. I wish we did. And then a few labels and some other kind of big names in there.
And you said it was social media, primarily social media for them, as opposed to more the sort of media and PR for the business to business side of things. So what would that entail? How much are you doing for them? Is it entirely outsourced, or are you just doing certain platforms?
You tend to work fairly closely with their teams. So it depends. Often it depends who's paying for it. It depends on the size of the artist and the campaign. There's no two jobs are kind of alike on that side. It's for some people it's kind of a full job, from the strategy, what they should be posting, and the art direction, how it looks. But a lot of the time they've already got an aesthetic, or they've got an album that they want to launch, and they just want some support on the social media side. So they're creating the assets around that and getting them out on socials, and maybe running a bit of paid social as well to support that. Other times it could be helping them with on the design side. So we've done some creative work for some labels. So that might be full kind of branding jobs. Mm-hmm. It could be just redeveloping the aesthetics of their social media. So often not everyone's kind of into social media, and some people do it begrudgingly, but in the music industry, building those communities up and having social media channels that reflect your personality and what you're trying to achieve is really important. So it's kind of helping them achieve that, really.
So are you finding, especially within that sector, that you're more involved with the personal brand and the personal message than that as an industry? So you're not in old money, when there was things like NME magazine or whatever, that was multiple facets. It was, this is an industry Bible kind of thing. So it's more about the individuals and their personal brand, I guess.
Yeah, and potentially their band, or if it's the label, then it's multiple different artists. Yeah. It's providing the kind of label's view on each of the artists, I guess, or the label's kind of perspective on things. But it completely depends. It's very difficult to say, like, oh yeah, we do this for everyone. In terms of trying to systemize it'd be very challenging because of the different approaches, and also how quickly things move. What algorithms change, strategies that worked one day suddenly don't. People migrate to new platforms, and so you have to one of the biggest challenges, I guess, of working on that side for the digital team is staying up to date with all the platform features, what's working, what formats are working, what the algorithm rewards. It's a constantly evolving process.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm guessing you've seen significant changes with people becoming more influencer and the move towards then productizing that profile, that personal brand. I'll not mention some of the more high profile things, but my son was one of the ones queuing up to get a certain drink, and so everything that they see on social media, I guess, is creating this community, this following. So are you finding that is a general trend, that people are going down this community marketing influencer kind of route?
I think that's been a trend for a while, the community side of things, really. If you're going to, thankfully in the music industry, you've got a natural community in that everyone following that label or following that artist naturally has at least one thing in common. Yeah. So you can build a community around those people based on something other than it. It might be based on their personality and things, but at least you've got the music as the kind of central force of that.
No, and God forbid that the music has to be good just to attract followers. We do need marketing as well. So otherwise, it's just down to natural talent, and sometimes some people will fall flat on that. So, and you said that the business is obviously two different sides. So tell me a little bit about the sort of business to business side that you're doing as well.
So that's my side. My background, I've been writing about, I've been working in PR for 15, 16 years. And my background's been B2B PR. So when we set up, I had a lot of freelance clients, I had a lot of kind of consultancy clients that I sort of transferred if I could into the business. So it sort of grew from there. In terms of the sustainability focus, it's something I've been doing for a long time. One of my early projects in my career was writing about the launch of Green Palm, which was it was essentially a bit like carbon credits for palm oil. You've probably heard all of the things about palm oil and how dreadful it has been for the planet. And this was the first attempts to make it less bad, but there was no such thing as sustainable palm oil at that time. So I've been kind of writing about that for the last 15 years on and off. And that's where it really grew from. You get connections through that into the food industry, which naturally led to opportunities for us to do some more kind of business to business PR in food, and also into wider sustainability. So it enabled us then to work into some different kind of aspects of sustainability, from sustainable technology to we're working now with a commercial EV manufacturer in the US. So there's I guess it was just naturally kind of created a niche for us, because we started out trying to be all things to all people, as I think a lot of small agencies do, and realized very quickly not only was that a very bad idea from a service quality and a sanity perspective, but we were much better focusing on what we were really good at.
So how you use the term wider sustainability, which I'll ask a question which will, I suppose, help explain that a little bit more. So how intrinsically passionate are you about the sustainability and the message behind it, or is it a wider sustainability, the impact generically of macroeconomics on the planet, on the economy, on everything?
Interesting. Yeah, what's my view on sustainability? I'd say I'm a people first sustainability. It would be if I had to pick my own personal kind of and the kind of clients I look for. I'm not sort of a typical sustainability, like an ideologue. The people who live and breathe, like they've gone vegan, they're not flying, they're composting everything, they're fully, all of the stuff that comes with that, the anti-capitalism, the lot. I'm definitely not on that side, but I definitely care about sustainability. I wouldn't have niched down into that had it not been something that I was interested in and that I care about. But I also recognize that I think the longer I've worked in sustainability, the more I realize there are no silver bullets. That essentially anyone coming at you with this is the only solution and this is how we do it is probably not telling the truth. And there's always the iron law of unintended consequences. However good your intentions, when you do something, it might have an impact. I think palm oil is a good example, actually. Like the calls to, you always hear about the calls to boycott palm oil or ban palm oil, and people don't think that puts 50 million of the poorest people back into absolute poverty, and also that we have to use something else. And the alternatives to palm oil are actually just as bad, if not worse. So it's finding those. Whenever we're looking at clients, we're not on a sustainability front. We're looking at ones who want to make a positive impact and want to do something good, but aren't potentially so super rigid and ideological about it. That will be my ideal kind of preferred sustainability client.
And I'm using this as a terminology rather than a by definition trademarked kind of thing. It's fair trade rather than no trade, I think, is important. Lack of exploitation and treating the people working within that industry as a sustainable industry where they want to work, they're well treated, is more important than just isolating it and saying, yeah, but that's bad. There are certain things, there are certain industries which I'm guessing by definition you wouldn't work with, but at the same time,
what industries wouldn't we work with? That's interesting. Actually, there's only, I found my moral ceiling quite early on. We were offered the chance to do some work for, it was through some sustainability work we'd done on a hydrogen-powered drone. So this hydrogen-powered drone can fly further than an EV one. It's great for, it's great for delivery. It's great for, it's been used a lot for farming and reconnaissance and replanting trees even. But one of the uses of this was military, and it was a fully automated, non-recoverable munition. So essentially, it's a drone that you fly over and then bomb someone with.
Yeah.
So I decided that probably wasn't for me. So I found my moral feeling. I knew that, well, at least I'm not, I know I'm not completely.
Yeah, so it's striking that balance between conscientious businesses and businesses that are almost overly critical of everything that's going on, and just going, there is a way forward, rather than, well, we just have to stop everything.
Yeah, I'm not. Again, it's the people-focused one. You see a lot. I think a lot of things have gone to the point of it's pure planet. Oh yeah, we've got to save the planet. We've got to save the planet for whom and at what? What are the unintended consequences of doing some of these things? So it's the people, again, often get kind of overlooked by a lot of these suggestions. And also that just everything is a compromise. You know, if you're doing organic farming, the great sort of poster child of sustainable farming, organic farming takes up more land. Where does that land come from? Is it better to be more intensive on a smaller area, which you are undoubtedly causing significant damage to? But at the same time, if you're going to go organic, you're still going to be causing significant damage just to a much larger area of land. It might be better for that land than intensive farming, but there's more of it. There's always a compromise. And it's kind of, I think, communicating that for businesses. So some of our clients in the food industry in particular, communicating why they source particular ingredients and overcoming some of the misconceptions around things like palm oil. It's a big part of, I think, what sets us apart as a business.
And I guess you're guided by the message. Are you ever approached by people saying, this is what we want to do, make us look cleaner, greener, you know, whatever they call it, greenwashing or whatever these days? Or is it you have to buy into what their fundamental purpose, their message behind their business model, whether it be changing for the better or is a new concept that's actually what you're willing to promote?
Yeah, I mean, do I ever get approached by companies wanting to do greenwashing? Yes, a lot. And we always say no. There's got to be substance to it, and I've got to believe that it is intrinsically, at least there's either been some, as you put it, there's been some, they're either making sustainable change in their businesses, so they're improving something that is currently either less sustainable than it should be, or that they want to be more sustainable. I'm very happy to take on that kind of work, or that it is a sustainability focused product. So for instance, we're working with a local company in Yorkshire called BioShield, and they produce a cleaning solution from orange waste. So it's purely made, it's made out of I think it's 100% natural solution, and it's made from the pith and peel of oranges. So that was a very easy one to take on. So it's manufactured from a waste product. So it's a waste product from the juice industry. So they take all, you know, whoever it is, Mr. Del Monte or whoever they're getting their oranges from, they take the waste material that would usually just be composted, thrown away, and they turn it into something that then means you need to use less, you know, chlorine or less ammonia-based sanitizers. So things like that, yeah, that's kind of my ideal in the sustainability, is a company that's doing something that's commercially useful, that has a wider impact and has real value from a sustainability perspective. But again, if there's a manufacturer who is not particularly sustainable but is looking to make some changes, or they're investing in their sustainability, then I'd be very happy to talk to them too.
Yeah, no, fantastic. I mean, we've talked a lot about, I guess, what makes 199 unique in terms of your your moral compass of why you do certain things and what constitutes an ideal business. What have been the challenges that you're sort of overcoming, not just as a business, but I guess as an industry? What are the biggest challenges that you're facing at the moment?
So I guess if you'd have asked me that a few years ago, I'd have said the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, COVID was a huge impact on our music clients because they could no longer play live. They had no tickets to sell. Their income streams were significantly affected, and we lost 50% of our business in about 3 months and had to rebuild over that way. In terms of kind of wider challenges at the moment, it's the challenges associated with growing a business. You know, my background isn't running a business, although I've been working for myself for now over a decade. I've only been running this business for 4 years, and it's my first kind of time employing people and managing people, and that kind of stuff is just, you know, you like to think you can learn from other people's mistakes, but you just often you have to and then you'll learn from them.
Yeah, they tend to act as a compass, draw us straight into the same mistakes that other people have already made. But
yes, yeah, but industry-wise, I guess AI is probably a big threat at the moment. But there's a lot of opportunities with that. It's how you see them. You know, there's always going to be change, but AI is going to impact on the creative industry. It's already impacted on the copywriting side. In terms of it's turning words into a commodity. And that will inevitably impact on the value of certain kinds of work. The good news is it can't do anything new, and it can't really write with nuance on topics because it's already programmed with the ideology of the people who are running it. So when you're writing, I don't think it's a big threat to the PR work or the comms work. I think if you were doing generic kind of SEO blogging, I think your days are numbered on that side.
It was interesting. I don't know if you saw on the news where they had it was around the Eurovision, and obviously with Sweden having next year, and they were interviewing Benny and Bjorn from ABBA, and I can't remember which one, and whoever was doing the interview spoke into a well-known AI bot and said, write me a song in the style of ABBA, blah blah blah, and it immediately wrote this. And you know, given that this is a family show, and so was that, I was amazed they didn't bleep out the language of what one of them actually said. Well, that's absolute, you know, as you say, it's nothing new. It can't be, and I suppose the differentiator is, until it can find a way of replicating context rather than content, then it can be used in a fantastic way to make us more efficient, to do some stuff, but we're still going to have to humanize it.
Yeah, and there's, as you say, the context thing, but large language models which they're all based on, they're only going through what's already there, and that's the fundamental flaw, is that finding new things. I mean, some people would say everything's derivative. You know, you steal from one person, it's, you know, it's theft of ideas. But if you steal from 5, it's inspiration. And ChatGPT stealing from thousands. So is it potentially new? But I think there's still it just opens up opportunities really to use the tool, and as long as you're prepared to embrace it and to know its limitations. Actually, they're quite useful. Yeah. So, and it's coming. You can't fight it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in certain areas, it's, as you say, sort of SEO driven. You know, there is data out there that says if you write 3 articles a week of 1,200 to 1,500 words, within 18 months, you are deemed to be an authority in that space. Just because of the way that the algorithms work and how you're findable. And that's fine. And you can get it to do the donkey work, but you still have to put in that human context of what it means to people and how they've interacted with it. And that's the bit that it never can replicate that, because a lot of that's emotive rather than documented.
And
so that feeling is always going to be difficult, and the people in the know will be able to see through it. But it's interesting that you see it as, certainly in affiliated markets to yourself within marketing, it could be perceived as a massive threat. I think I do agree in terms of the PR side and how it's working. You're going to embrace it, you're going to use it, and it's going to save you some time.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, we're already using some AI tools.
Mm-hmm.
They're already integrated into the design tools we're using. They're already integrated into, they're integrated in Microsoft Word now. It's not like they're not there for you to use.
They're everywhere.
It'd be foolish if you didn't use them to save some time.
Yeah.
I guess the music industry, you mentioned, the ABBA one, rewriting songs. I mean, how are you ever going to know now whether an artist has used AI or not to write songs?
I suppose it's going to heighten that question of, who is this really written about then? If they can't answer that,
what's it about? Just put in, put it into the AI.
It'll expel all the myths of who it was, all the revenge songs and things like that have come out. You just go, no, it was actually about that. So no, interesting. So I guess the sort of immediate sort of final question is, what's next for you? Where do you see the business going? Is it leaning more towards the music side? Is it leaning towards the sustainability? Is it still going to continue as a blend? But what's happening for yourselves?
So what's happening here? I think that we are going to continue on our current path in terms of the split. The split doesn't seem that natural in terms of the business to business and the music, but given the pandemic, I was very pleased to have two completely disparate industries. It was what I don't think we'd have a business if we hadn't have been diversified there. And similarly, when the war in Ukraine happened, that impacted on one of our other clients, and I was very glad to have the music side back. So I think we'll continue on that. In terms of where we're at the moment, we've got plans to grow. We've got a team of 8 at the moment, and I would hope that by the end of this year that will be 10. That'll have been probably a double in size in 12 months. So we're touch fingers crossed and touch wood. We seem to be on the right track with that. In terms of the work, then we're going to continue to focus on what we're good at. So the strategy and delivery side on social media, and communicating complex and nuanced topics on the PR side, especially in the sustainability space. And hopefully that kind of that blueprint will do as well.
The great thing is you're aligning yourself to industries that are evolving, that are changing, that have been forced into this, and are in the right way at the forefront of people's minds, rather than it just being a buzzword or the next shiny thing. So it's the wider sustainability market isn't just another magpie syndrome. So it's
not going anywhere. Sustainability
it's not going anywhere.
Here to stay, I think.
Lots of people have expressed it in slightly stronger terminology, but the state of where we are, things have to change, because if they don't, we're pretty much doomed in the old models. But there we go. So it's clearly going to be exciting times, and it'd be interesting to see how things like the entertainment industries also jump on, because they obviously, with the profiles inherently of these people, they do tend to jump onto causes as well, and rightly so. But they're now starting to look at their own industry, of how they impact it, not just being the voice of a cause or whatever it may be. So exciting times, I'm guessing, for the next couple of years.
Always. It's all, I mean, marketing moves very quickly, digital and social particularly quickly. You've got to be kind of, no day's the same, and you've always got to be on the lookout for new features, new platforms. And on the PR side, it's constantly evolving as well, because we're seeing, we're living through the death of legacy media, I think, in terms of its certainly in terms of its position at the kind of pinnacle of what people want in terms of coverage. You know, the dynamics in media are changing so quickly at the moment, and independent kind of channels on YouTube. When you've got channels on YouTube doing more than any television show in the world by, you know, an order of magnitude, then you know that the times have changed.
Yeah, yeah, and the balance of power has changed within the industry significantly as well. As you say, there's people getting more traction with less resource, but just putting something out and building the community around that, and before you know it, they've got millions of views and followers, whereas people have spent millions and billions trying to create that and never got there. You know, so it can be done from a bedroom on a shoestring, and you know, that's what we're up against, and we've got to embrace it. So yeah, very fast changing, very fast paced, I guess. Think so.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, isn't it? That someone in their bedroom can go and create a media empire that could rival the biggest media outlets in the world. It's very empowering, you know.
And it's not such a bad thing, because you look at what they've done with some of these media empires, and yeah, some of their morals maybe are more questionable. So there we go. But we'll not open that can of worms.
No, maybe not in a 20 minute.
Brilliant. Well, that's bringing us towards the end. Are there any areas that we've not covered that you'd like to highlight today, Barnaby?
No, I think that's been great. Cheers, Ron.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, that does then bring us to the end of the interview. All that remains to be said, if you're watching this and want to highlight your own business, put your own business into the spotlight, get in touch. When we put these things out there, we'll always put links so that you can book in and record your own interviews, and then promote your own business. But a big thank you to Barnaby. It's been absolutely fascinating hearing about your business, and you know, really enjoyed listening to what's happening in two very different markets. But yeah, exciting times for you, and I think the future is looking very bright. So thank you for joining us.
Great. Cheers, Ron. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. And thank you for everyone for watching another of our Business Spotlight interviews. We'll see you soon. Keep smiling and keep in touch.